It is commonly thought that Japan is one of the, if not the safest country in the world. And those who wish to travel here don't have to worry about anything, since Japanese people are nice and there's almost no crime. But is this actually true? Those who travel to Japan are actually one group of people that should be careful in certain areas and situations, especially in shady parts of Tokyo. To find out more, I traveled to the most dangerous place in Tokyo. But first, let's talk about the other group, the group that is probably at most risk in Japan, and those are the Japanese elderly. You see, Japan is an aging society with an average age of 48 years. Japanese are actually the oldest in the world. One would think that age brings wisdom, but for whatever reason, this is actually not true, since elderly are the easiest people to scam all over the world, including Japan. The ore scam, ore meaning me, so basically it's me scam, is the biggest and most common scam in Japan, with hundreds of millions of dollars getting scammed from elderly every single year. It is so common and so prevalent in Japan, it is hard to explain. The scam is ridiculously simple. All the scammer has to do is to go through a local telephone book and call every individual. Nowadays, most young people don't have landlines, so there's a good chance anyone with a landline is an old person. If the person who answers the phone sounds like one, the scammer will try to pretend to be their son and say, "Hey, it's me, I'm in trouble and I need to borrow some money." Then they guide the old person along and tell them where to send the money and say something like, "Please keep this a secret, okay?" And it won't be until years later that the family will notice the scam. I cannot stress enough how incredibly common this is, and the government is trying everything they can to stop this, with television spots and having trains plastered with posters warning about this. They even encourage having a code word when speaking on the phone, just to make sure it's really their son that's calling. So as you can see, crime does indeed exist in Japan. But you're probably not an 8-year-old Japanese woman, so you'll be safe from this scam. But it's good to know that Japan is not some magical country where crime doesn't exist, since if you happen to get in trouble here, the police probably and sadly won't be there to help you out. The Japanese police are generally quite ineffective, since culturally Japan is a country where you leave things undone and hope someone else takes care of it. The couple of times I've had to deal with the police myself, it's been about 50-50 whether they actually bother to help me out. Now, I'm not saying they're bad eggs, far from it, but they don't really want to get themselves tangled with the problems foreigners are having in Japan. Most of the time they just want to walk around and take it easy, randomly checking people on the streets, which is why these kind of videos are relatively common online.
This is a first for me. The Tokyo police just asked to randomly check my bag. You want to look in my bag?
Yes. 見られたくないものとかあるんですか？
なんでですか？
パトロールで、要は知らずに危ないものを持ってる人とかいるんですよ。
でも私は危ない人みたいですか？
要はちょっとそれだけ確認させてほしいんですよ。
私のバッグの中に、
はい。
見たい？
Yes, yes. パパッと見て終わっちゃうんで。
The reason they do this is because in most jobs in Japan, it is more important to look like you're busy rather than actually be doing something useful. So the police stop random foreigners on the street, check them out and let them go. So they can go back to the station and say they did something during the day. You don't have to worry about getting in trouble with the Japanese police though, of course, as long as you aren't doing something that you shouldn't be doing in the first place. They are nice people and they'll let you go immediately once you show them your passport and your bag. So try not to get mad at them for racial profiling and start arguing with them. They're just doing busy work. They don't mean any harm to you.
なんか見られたくないものとか入ってます？
はい。
例えばなんとか。
私のパンツが入ってます。
大丈夫です。ごめんなさい。ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。
Now I did mention earlier that travelers are the other group of people that should be careful in Japan. To find out why, let's go to Kabukicho in the center of Tokyo, supposedly the most dangerous area in Japan. Kabukicho is basically the place where all the bars, love hotels, hostess clubs, and other seedy nightlife activities take place. It used to be a huge Yakuza hub, but these days Yakuza isn't really a thing like it used to be. While there are some quiet streets and nice photogenic places like the Golden Guy drinking alley, most of Kabukicho is like every other nightlife area in any city. The nice thing about Kabukicho is that while every other area like this in the world has huge amount of pickpockets, that is not really something that you should be scared of in Japan. Now of course I'm not saying you should walk around with your wallet halfway hanging from your pocket, but with general minimal caution, you don't really have to worry about getting pickpocketed. There is one thing though that you should avoid at all cost. They've been there for 30 years, everyone keeps warning about them, but still, thousands of people become victims every single year, and what they do is much worse than just getting your phone stolen. So, who are these mysterious people? It's these guys. The African guys hanging in the streets of Kabukicho. And of course, I don't mean that you should be scared of every African guy in Japan. But there are these specific guys who hang around in Kabukicho and work for criminal organizations and mostly approach tourists. Even I got approached 7 times during the evening when filming these shots for the video. These guys will talk to you, approach you on the street, ask if you need something, then they'll try to get you to come to their bar, usually with the promise that you'll see tits there. And never ever follow these guys anywhere. Nothing good will come out of that. The best case scenario is that they'll take you to some shitty bar where some girls who work there ask for you to buy them drinks, but there are no prices anywhere to be seen for the drinks. Then, when you're about to leave, you'll find out that the drinks cost like $200 each, and some big guys will come out of the back asking you to pay up. The worst case scenario is that they'll spike your drink with drugs, and then they'll take you to an ATM outside and force you to withdraw thousands of dollars for them. Now you might be thinking, that's not gonna happen to me, I'm not that stupid, and you're probably right. But like I said earlier, this happens to thousands of tourists every single year. Even googling something like Japan Reddit scammed, hundreds of posts come up with people getting robbed with the same exact story. I got grabbed and pulled into an elevator by some guy and brought up to a sketchy bar. I ordered a gin and tonic and I'm 99% sure it was spiked. They got me to use my phone and PayPal them 200,000 yen. These African guys actually used to be much more aggressive back in the day, like grabbing your shirt like, hey, come with me, and following you around for 5 minutes. But luckily these days they are much nicer and easier to get rid of. The government has tried to get rid of them, but no matter what, they're just always there. I cannot stress this enough. When an African guy approaches you in Kabukicho, do not go with them, okay? In fact, don't follow anyone you don't know to a shady bar. Sure, most of these scammers are 40-year-old Nigerian dudes, but I'm pretty sure other nationalities do this too. Tokyo is one of those places that you don't have to worry about the small, petty crimes, but when you get robbed, you really get robbed. And like I said earlier, the police don't really even want to get involved in these foreigner versus foreigner scams that happen in shady bars in Yakuza territory. And most of the time, just looking from the perspective of the law, they even can't, since technically you're the one giving them the money, willingly, since you're the one putting the pin down and giving them the money. So technically you didn't get robbed. And what is even worse is that I've heard that credit card companies aren't too eager to give you the money back, since this happened in foreign land and technically, you gave them the money willingly. And usually there's not even a police report to help you out. So now you know, when you get approached by strangers in Kabukicho, just ignore them and keep on walking. Or do what I did when one of these guys approached me in the evening. I just straight up told them like, I live here. And they were like, okay, then I can't scam you, and left.